Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from wherever you are. Now, The Eternals. It's a film that's about to come out, or if you're watching this a week later, is out. And much like many films these days, is not shy of controversy. Although the controversy is not really in the film, unless you're a total and utter comic purist, like myself. For the most part, I'll get to that in a minute. The controversy stems from yet more pathetic, most likely right-wing, homophobic trolls who are just review bombing The Eternals on IMDb. So much so that now if you go and check IMDb, my speaker just turned off there, but if you go and check IMDb, you will see that The Eternals doesn't have a rating. They've taken it off because it was review bombed so heavily. And the character causing the controversy is called Festus, who in the comic books is actually straight and had a mortal wife. Disney flipped it and made him gay. Now, people that know me know I'm a comic book purist, and I don't like Hollywood making these stupid changes to characters that are unnecessary. However, when they're irrelevant characters, minor characters, like The Eternals was never a big comic book. It never sold well. It was a good lore that established the Marvel comic universe. And I love that for what it is. But aside from that, they're very boring characters. So tweaking and you know, in the comic books, they're all white, which is just, meh. You know, so again, doing the race swap, gender swap, or sexuality swap with these characters is fine. You know, we're not talking about somebody like, for example, Captain America and the whole Peggy Carter thing, and then Sharon Carter in the comics and all this kind of stuff. And then just flipping that on his head and then making him gay. That's stupid. That is really a stupid thing to do. Making Superman, the original, not his son, gay, kind of defeats the whole purpose of Lois Lane, unless they change that character to Lois Lane. Again, stupid. Very well established lore, intricate to the character. Making those kind of changes are stupid. However, doing it to characters like, for example, Asgard. Now, the Norse myth of Asgard, pretty much everyone's just based off of Scandinavian people. There are no black people or Asians or all of that. But they tweaked it and changed it and brought it into the modern era, because if you're going to talk about gods relating to Earth rather than just the Norse, you got to tweak it to have a little bit of a spread of diversity. So nobody gave a shit that Heimdall was black. But if Thor was black or something else, you'd be pissed. And rightfully so. I wouldn't want the Black Panther suddenly being white. Or Asian, even. That's stupid. It's like when they changed the Ancient One in Doctor Strange from an old Asian dude to a middle-aged woman, white woman. That's dumb. That's a very important character. Now, nothing against Tilda Swinton. She smashed it in that role and she's a brilliant actress. Just giving you examples. So the outrage here is just pointless. It really is. I'm sorry. Normally, I would back a lot of things that get changed that are stupid. But this is just not one of those things I can support. Especially given if it is a purely homophobic thing rather than a purist thing. And it's blatantly a homophobic thing. Because how many of you have sat and read The Eternals? If you look at the sales numbers versus the thousands of people that are trying to review bomb the thing, I'm guessing you've never read The Eternals. You know, I read The Eternals years ago. I liked it for what it was, but I'm not a big fan of theirs. But I did. It was one of those I was screaming to see made into a film because I want to see what they do with the lore and MCU's lore, not necessarily the comic book lore, because the MCU is vastly different to a lot of the stuff in the comic book, and that's fine. That's that universe. What I don't like is when they take the MCU and then plant it into the comic books and make the new law that law in the comic books. That's the other thing that kind of winds me up. But if the MCU is its own standalone thing, that's why with X-Men I didn't kind of mind First Class when it kind of twisted things and all of that. Because I'm like, okay, that's its universe. It's not... The 616 is this and everything else is that. Now, if the MCU says it's 616, they can go fuck themselves. They're wrong. Petty, I know, but what can you do? But my point is here is such an insignificant character in the whole of the MCU. I mean, if you go and check Marvel 616 Wikipedia thingy, the Marvel Wiki or whatever it's called, you'll notice anything about Festus is like this much long, this much. That's it, you know. Where the real controversy is going to start is when the X-Men eventually come to the cinematic world again, because they've been here already. I'd bet your bottom dollar they're going to make Iceman gay, because they kind of retroactively did that in the comic books. Again, stupid, but Iceman's such a boring character anyway that who cares? Who cares where he puts his ice dildos? It's not that relevant. But you couldn't do that to Wolverine, for example, and you couldn't do that. I think they kind of did that in Powers of X, made him bi. But you definitely couldn't do that to like Gambit or Cyclops, making them gay, because it kind of, you know, Gambit's whole thing with Rogue and Cyclops and Jean, and later Emma Frost. And then back to Jean, you know, things like that. But Iceman, I mean, what's his most well-known relationship? Didn't he have a thing once with Polaris or something? You know, he's such a dull character. Nobody. The only time Iceman was ever interesting was in Age of Apocalypse. That was it. And I think in the Rogue miniseries, when he went on a road trip with Rogue, he was quite good to see in that. That's about it. So again, changing him to gay, at least it gives him something of a personality, maybe, even though that's not really a nice thing to say that, hey, you're gay now, so now it makes you interesting. It's just like, what? So being gay makes me interesting? So I'm sorry if that offends anyone. I'm just saying for Iceman, he's just, you know, got superb powers, an Omega level mutant, but he's got no personality. So at least this would be something. Also, just telling you now, expect to see it. Anyway, that is all for all the triggered homophobes losing their mind over a openly gay character in the MCU. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're grown men. You're grown adults or women. It might be even women attacking this, but it's usually men. You know, grow up. It's 2021. We are literally being fisted economically by neoliberal, greedy-ass, evil capitalists, but you're fixated over somebody who's gay in a film. That's the perspective you should always put everything in. Economics first, what's going on in the world economically and how we're being affected and screwed and twisted and pinched and ripped apart economically compared to art. Perspective, people.